I was watching this documentary about the Panama Papers. Because it's this firm in Panama who was using LLCs and corporations to help the rich and famous avoid paying taxes in their home country. And I guess these reporters had all the documentation, they were going through it, and they were exposing the fraud. And they were getting upset as they went through it. So I could see that because, someone who's making minimum wage is paying their taxes, but this actress who's making 20 million is paying nothing. I understand it's not fair because the system's supposed to be, everyone's supposed to follow it. And the person who makes the most money paying the least. It doesn't make any sense. I do understand that. Excuse me. But then one of the reporters lost it. She's talking about how this uncollected tax money could go to schools, roads, and bridges. And I'm sitting like, what country do you live in? In America, tax money doesn't go to schools, roads, and bridges. The taxes that we pay as citizens goes towards mistresses and shopping sprees and sexual harassment lawsuit settlements and liquor. And if you've been to DC on a Friday night, you can see how much liquor's consumed. Yeah, it's a lot of money that's needed to keep up with their habit. So I'm thinking, well, where did you get this idea? I'm thinking, well, maybe in her home country, that's where it is, because she didn't have an accent. I mean, I'm not sure if she was from the U.S. or not. She didn't have an accent, so I'm thinking, well, maybe in her home country, that's what happens. And then I started checking, there's no country in the world that has tax money going towards schools, roads, and bridges. I mean, at minimum, it's going towards the mistresses and the liquor. At minimum. Never mind, and definitely then when you include the sexual harassment and the shopping sprees, I mean, that's your most developed nations. So I don't understand where she got this idea. I mean, I'm thinking, well, maybe she's been abducted by aliens and they took her to their home planet, and that's what they do there. And so that's where she got this unusual concept. Or maybe she's schizophrenic and the voices are telling her that, because when you're schizophrenic, those voices, they'll say anything. So I'm wondering, why is she saying this? I'm thinking someone should stop her. I mean, at minimum, she needs to be on one of those 72-hour cycles, because she was in the U.S. Because obviously, if she's thinking she's been abducted by aliens or the schizophrenia, then she has some issues and needs some medication or other therapies. Then I'm thinking, what about the children? What if some child grows up thinking this notion that tax money's going towards schools and bridges and roads? Next thing you know, they'll get in their car and they'll be driving on the road and they'll expect the road to be nice and paved and smooth. And then there's a big pothole and they don't avoid it because they're not expecting it, and they crash their car into a pole. This woman's dangerous to the global population. So I think we need to track her down. We need to at least a psych hold, maybe put her in one of those black sites or Gitmo or Area 51. But we need to get her off the streets. And for anyone who didn't know, when you write your taxes, that tax check, or you see the money coming out of your paycheck on your pay stub, it's not going to schools, roads, and bridges. To repeat, for the final time, it's going to mistresses, shopping sprees, sexual harassment lawsuit settlements, and liquor. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that's how the real world works. So that's why this woman needs to be off the streets, because she's talking about some fantasy land. I don't know if she's talking about the Garden of Eden or Atlantis, but something's not right with her. We need to do something.